This is WBSM On Demand.
Good morning. Good morning. Hopefully having a great day today. I know I am. And hopefully you'll be able to join us through for a couple more hours here, right? After me comes Bill O'Reilly, and then after that, the great Bear Richard, right? And then after that, Howie Carr. So the pardons are just starting to come, right? We know now that President Biden has pardoned Hunter Biden. But who else do you think he's going to pardon? If you've been, and I'm asking for you people who maybe don't call regularly. Maybe you do call regularly. It doesn't really matter to me. I'd like to hear from everybody. Who do you think is next to be pardoned by President Trump? From President Biden, excuse me. President Biden has got into January to use this incredible power that he has to forgive on our behalf all crimes committed against the people of the United States of America. He used that now so far to help 11 people, the 12th being his own flesh and blood, his son, Hunter. Right? He reached out using the power we've lent him as our chief executive to benefit 11 people, the 12th, his son, Hunter Biden, right? Who many who've been following the United States hearings, right? The congressional hearings into the Biden family finances. Who do you think? So many people who've been following that realize there's other members of the family that have benefited millions of dollars from foreign actors, the Communist Chinese, the Ukrainians, Russians. Who else do you think is going to be pardoned by Biden? Who else do you think Joe Biden wants to make sure is in his good graces and out of the reach of the Justice Department for any crimes that have been committed while he's been in the executive branch? Right? It's an incredible power that the president has. They don't have to all be family members, but I have a suspicion some of them are going to be family members. I'd love to hear from you at 508-996-05. Who do you think is next to be bestowed on the graces of the executive branch? President Biden. Who do you think he'll reach out and touch next and save, right? What about Mumia Abu-Jamal? He's a cop killer. He's a hero of the left. Right? He was a member of the MOVE movement in Philadelphia. He murdered a cop. And he's been a cause celeb on the left for years. Mumia Abu-Jamal. You think President Biden will put him on the list to win over some more fans on the left as if he hasn't given them enough already? Right? The defund the police movement would love that. Give us our God. Give us Mumia Abu-Jamal. Now, I don't know if he's can be spared because as you think about it, I'm not sure he's being held on federal charges. I think he's held on state charges that come out of the state of Pennsylvania, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, really. So maybe not Mumia. But I bet he can find some other radical, some cop killer. Would he pardon people who are fugitives? President Clinton did it, right? I don't know. Are there any federal criminals being held by the federal government for revolutionary activities that Obama didn't let out, that Clinton didn't let out, that God hasn't given his final sentence to, right? That are rotting in a prison somewhere. Actually, not rotting. Probably got a master's degree now, right? And they get all kinds of help from the other radicals, right? That Biden can pick out and bestow clemency and immunity on. Who knows? Anyway, let's go back to the phones. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Hey, Chris.
What's happening?
So I'm having a brain fart moment because I don't actually remember his name, but the gentleman, he's dead now. He was killed by a cop. He started the Black Lives Matter riots. Could they post-mortem pardon him for any crimes that he committed? I forget what his name is. I can picture his face. They made a statue of him, Chris.
Where?
Ferguson. That guy. Out in Ferguson, Missouri. One of the guys that was, the I can't breathe people or the kneeling on the neck guy. Honestly, I can't remember his name, but
You're talking about George Floyd?
Yes. Thank you very much. He could post-mortem pardon him from any federal crimes that he committed, if he had any. And that would make him a big hero with the Black Lives Matter community.
That's
that's
interesting, Ray. That's an interesting one. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, I think because he knows that he lost a lot of the African-American male vote, and I think that will embolden that side of the aisle a little bit more. But what I would like to see, which is probably more impossible than a post-mortem pardon, is he pardons Donald Trump. He's supposed to be the big unifying president that he claims to be. I'm the unifier. I'm the one who's going to bring unity to this country. The best way to do that is to literally pardon Donald Trump from all the felonies that he was convicted of. And I think that would
weren't
give
those
a lot of
state
people
charges? I don't think that President Biden or any president would have the ability to reach into the states and pardon state
wouldn't.
charges.
No, he wouldn't. I wasn't sure if he had any felony federal charges on Donald Trump. I didn't know if that was a.
Oh, there are federal charges. Yes.
Federal, was he convicted?
No, he hasn't been convicted of anything except those chintzy little state charges, which even John Mitchell, a loyal Democrat, former federal prosecutor, says are garbage.
Right, but I do think he could make it a point to maybe make a public comment that the state of New York should do that in a sense of unity, kind of pressure them publicly to do that and bring a sense of unity. Yeah, I think he could do that. But honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if George Floyd was pardoned post-mortem.
That's interesting. He's committed. He allegedly. I think he was. Thanks for the call. But I was always right. I think he committed a. I don't know. I don't want to besmirch the good name of George Floyd, but my understanding is he was convicted of a number of crimes. But I've got a fuzzy recollection of what those crimes were. And in the interest of George Floyd's good name, I don't want to bring it up because I'm not 100% sure about it. But I think there was significant criminal activity before he died of what was really complications from narcotics use. But anyway, 508-9960. What members of the Biden family or members of our great nation do you think Joe Biden will not prosecute, right? Will give immunity to, community sentences of, or blanket pardons like he gave Hunter? What about his brother? 508-996-0500. Good morning. Thanks for the holding.
Hey, good morning, Chris. How are you?
I'm going great. How are you doing?
Not bad. It's interesting. It's pretty clear that the Biden crime family or the Biden White House crime family, whatever you want to call it, now he's giving pardons out to the people closest to him, almost like he's getting ready for federal indictment, the way it kind of feels.
Right.
And so I always wonder, Howie Carr said something about this yesterday. It says, you don't ever screw the bag man because the bag man can get you. And he's got a lot of bagmen in the government. He's got a lot. They pulled in a lot of people between the FBI and the CIA and all the different agencies to work the magic they worked for the last 15 years. Steal dossiers and Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton and Obama and you kind of think that Joe is like he's setting everyone below him up to get in trouble, because unless he hands out blanket immunities to like Christopher Wray or whoever else, at some point, if the government under Kash Patel or under whoever decides to go after any of these characters for something that they find even as a pedestrian crime, they're all going to start talking because they have no immunity. So you could see a real, I don't know, in the first year, you could see some serious ugliness in post Biden Washington. You know what I mean?
No, I totally know what you mean. And I wonder, first of all, you wonder who is really writing these pardons, right? Now, Abby Lowell, who's a very good attorney, Democrat, but Republicans have hired him. Jared Kushner hired him during the investigation by the Biden Justice Department, of which he was exonerated. He was never charged with anything.
Right.
But he hired Abby Lowell. I wonder, Abby Lowell put out a statement on Sunday afternoon, maybe Sunday morning, hoping the president would pardon Hunter Biden, because he's Hunter's lawyer. You
Right.
wonder how much of a role Abby Lowell played in writing the pardon. He worked for President Clinton. So you wonder, what about Joe Biden? You think she's got any culpability for anything that went on?
I think he's going to pardon himself right at the end. I think he's he's going to pardon everyone in his family that can basically go to jail for the grift that they ran since 2014. Because I mean, if you and I can figure it out,
right.
I mean, I'm not a smart guy. You're a smarter guy than me. If we can figure all this out, everyone knows that's. And so I think that he's going to pardon everyone he can because he can pardon, and that'll be his last act of power, which is to cover his grift. So
yes, no, I agree with you. But here's the thing: like I mentioned earlier, and there was one of the people in my audience. He makes mad good cookies, right? Mad good cookies. John sent me something on Facebook. Now, he's a busy guy, so he's in and out listening to the program. And like many of you, you're listening, but you got other things you got to do, and I certainly recognize that. But John sent me a video of a lawyer talking about just what I talked about yesterday, and the fact that by granting this complete pardon for any crimes, known and unknown, that Hunter Biden may have committed from 2014 up through last Sunday on Nantucket, that Hunter Biden has lost his constitutional right against self-incrimination, because the government, the federal government, is now forbidden from going after Hunter Biden for any federal crimes he committed from 2014 up to last Sunday on Nantucket. It's amazing. It's really amazing. But any crimes going forward, such as not honoring a lawful subpoena from the United States Senate or the United States House of Representatives, both of which will be under Republican control again in January, or the Justice Department, which will be under Republican control, meaning not Biden's control. That's a new crime. So if they want to haul Hunter in front of Congress, as they should, and ask about the sale of U.S. foreign policy by his dad, and Hunter says, I'm not showing up like he did before when his dad had the Justice Department. Remember, you can not honor a lawful subpoena if the Justice Department isn't going to prosecute you. And they weren't going to prosecute Hunter, obviously. But that'll be a new crime. That'll be a new crime. Anyway, 508-9960. Who else do you think, or would you like to see President Biden issue a pardon to going forward? That's the question on the table. Who else, and who else do you think he's going to pardon? What about his brother Jim? What about his own wife? What about his brother Jim's wife? She had a credit card, right, from that Chinese conglomerate. What about people in the military who did things that we don't even know about? You think they're looking for a pardon? Right? I mean, it's amazing who's out there right now. 508-996-0500. I got a very short break. Stay up there if you're on hold. We'll be right back. Jailbreak. That's what we kind of just saw, right? How many more jailbreaks are there going to be? How many more jailbreaks are there going to be? Who do you think is going to get pardoned next? You know, I reference him all the time. Andrew McCarthy. He was a federal prosecutor in the Southern District of New York, right? That's the big office. He did mob prosecutions, terrorist prosecutions, both under George W. Bush and Bill Clinton. Or no, I'm sorry, under H.W., maybe even under Reagan. He may have been there under Reagan, too. But H.W., and then under Clinton, he prosecuted the first World Trade Center bombing, all the fanatics, the Muslim fanatics who did that bombing. Right? So Andrew McCarthy was talking about when he was in the Justice Department, they looked at prosecuting Bill Clinton for selling pardons. And then it was basically an open and shut case because he had given a pardon to Mark Rich. Mark Rich's ex-wife. The reason she's his ex-wife is he became a fugitive, so they got divorced more of as a legal tactic, right? She gave millions of dollars to Bill Clinton, his foundation, right? And he gave a pardon to her, to his. Mark Rich was a fugitive from justice. He'd never served any time. He was still living abroad. And Bill Clinton pardoned him. And he sold that pardon for millions of dollars. But a decision was made by the incoming Bush administration, George W. Bush, not to pursue it because no president had ever prosecuted his predecessor. That just wasn't done in America. Of course, Biden has changed those rules. Not that I think Joe Biden did it. I think it's his handlers, his radical left handlers, with some inspiration from President Obama, right? To get Trump. So they prosecuted him. Now, what Donald Trump had that they didn't realize, I don't know why, but they thought that his wealth, his personal wealth, was a myth. I don't know why, but they did. Maybe because they lie. So they underestimated his ability to fight the federal government. Most people do not have the personal wealth or resources of a Donald Trump. Joe Biden certainly doesn't. How do you think he would stand up if they started to investigate him personally? He doesn't have the personal wealth to withstand the investigation. Right? He doesn't. So, and neither do his family members. They don't have nobody has the personal wealth to stand up to the federal government. Donald Trump did, though, right? Because before he went into politics, he earned real money. Not with coercion, but with building great real estate and building luxury brands that people wanted and were willing to pay for it. Donald Trump's a great businessman. He's also been a great president, great leader. Did you see that? What Donald Trump said yesterday? Bring back our American hostages taken by the Muslim savages over there in the Middle East. Hamas, Hezbollah. Give us back the Americans. Give us back the hostages. If you don't do it before I take office, said Donald Trump, all hell is going to break loose in the Middle East. He's going to take the handcuffs off the Israeli government that the Biden, Harris, Obama administrations put on the Israeli Defense Forces, right? And he's going to unleash the greatest military might ever seen in the world, the American fighting men and women, right? The American military. You can't steal an American, take them hostage, even in a foreign country, and get away with it. Just because we have this tired old man in there now, and this woman who doesn't even know we have American soldiers in the field, right? Remember that disgusting performance by Vice President Harris in the debate that our own governor tried to defend? Donald Trump told the world yesterday, in no uncertain terms, give us back our Americans, you savages. You savages who live in tunnels, hiding like rats. Give us back our American brothers and sisters, the ones you haven't killed, or all hell's going to break loose in the Middle East. Let me tell you something. I felt good to hear an American president to say that, right? That made me feel good. Donald Trump's not even in power yet. Remember, they feared Reagan. Those savages gave back the hostages. They knew what Reagan was going to do. They knew what Reagan was going to do. So they sent those hostages home in 1980, right? That they had taken when we had another weakling in the White House. President Carter, Jimmy Carter, weakling. Well, another real man is coming back, Donald Trump. And he said it yesterday, give back our Americans, you savages. If you don't, all hell is going to break loose in the Middle East. How's he going to do it? Well, we have the greatest American patriots, an all-volunteer military. Willing, dying, really, to go into that Middle East and get those Americans back. And the Israelis, they got some scores to settle, too, with those savages. And they've been held back by the weakling Joe Biden and that weakling Kamala Harris that many of you voted for. How embarrassing you must be to your family. You voted for Kamala Harris over this great American. 508-996. But who do you think's on the good luck list, right? Who do you think's on President Biden's list to get a pardon? Thanks for holding.
Hello?
Yeah, you're on the air.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Barely.
All right, I have a compressor running. I've been listening to you while I'm underneath a porch.
All right. So,
well, that pardon, people don't realize it's not just what he's been convicted of, it's
right.
what can be brought up on him for the next 10 years and his whole family and Biden himself.
Yes.
Anybody that came to Hunter Biden and gone to any one of his family, nieces, nephews, any of them, like the niece that, did you remember years back when the niece used credit cards and all of it bounced?
and she never got convicted of it. Biden's beast in New York City.
No, I don't remember that.
She used a credit card. This is good 10 years ago.
Okay.
She was in New York, partying her butt off. She went to the different stores. Because she used a credit card, she was almost 10 grand in the hole. And she was pardoned from any jail time, anything else for credit card fraud. And that was Biden's niece. So everybody in that family is going to be pardoned, or anything that's brought up from that 10-year span. Any money he's received, any money's been paid to him, and the whole family, no matter who it is. That's one of the best pardons ever written in United States history, where the whole family is covered from any prosecution, no matter who they are, what they are, whatever. And also some of their business partners that receive some of that illicit money.
So that's an interesting take on that, sir. I don't know if that is a prediction or what you think, because Hunter Biden's pardon is for him specifically. It doesn't reach any other people he worked with. But I suspect what you're saying is that's a prediction. That's what you think is going to come about. The pardon only covers Robert Hunter Biden, his son, the one he issued on Sunday night. But who else do you think is going to get a pardon? Because I think there's a whole bunch more, and I think that gentleman is correct that the whole family is going to end up being pardoned, right? 508-996-0500. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Good morning, Chris.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. Doesn't it feel good, America being number one again?
Yes.
Instead of number 2, number 3, number 4. That's what I can't understand about some Americans. Why do we want to be number 2 or number 3 in the world? This is the richest country and the most powerful country in the world. Why do we want to take a second or third position?
Ever.
Well, some do.
I know. I agree with you. It's amazing. Look, you've been a soldier overseas. I know that from your personal story. It's great to be an American soldier, isn't it?
It sure is. And I get a good feeling about America now.
Yes.
I was starting to doubt this country with Biden. I was really doubting it, what was going on.
Look, when your fellow Americans, who even if they have dual citizenship, are taken hostage and stuffed into tunnels in the Middle East, and our president doesn't do anything about it? It's embarrassing. It makes us look weak.
Never in our past history that we were feeling so weak, Something I don't understand. You mentioned Biden going to pardon people. How can he pardon anybody? How can he, like his brother? His brother hasn't been charged yet with anything. How can they pardon him?
Well, if you remember, and I know you do, think back to the Richard Nixon pardon by Ford. He was not hadn't even been charged with anything. So you don't have to be charged with anything to be given a pardon for all crimes. It's not done regularly, but it has been done, and it is like a great gift, right? All crimes known and unknown to the grand jury, right? It's amazing.
Yeah, I forgot about that, about Nixon. Yeah. Well, okay, you cleared that up, because he's going to have to pardon his whole family.
Oh, I think so. I do think so. Yeah. Thanks for the call, my friend, as always. I think that what you'll find is that there's a reason that Robert Hunter Biden has been pardoned through till last Sunday night on Nantucket by his father. God knows what other things. Because remember, Joe Biden was merely the vice president. It's a powerful job, and certainly he and Obama were having lunch every week and conspiring or working together, I guess would be the better word, right? Working together. But it was done in secret, so two people together in secret, who knows? I guess conspiring could be the right word. We'll never know. At least we won't know the whole story. But for the last 4 years, he has brought it to the present. He has been the big man, right? The president of the United States, a leader of the free world. So what was Hunter doing with that kind of access? We know that Biden made it very clear that Hunter was his closest confidant and his closest advisor. The smartest man he knew. That was telegraphing to the rest of the world. Right? Hunter is the door. Treat Hunter well, and I'll treat you well. It's an amazing thing. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Hey, good morning, Chris. How you
Hey,
doing,
my
buddy?
favorite Democrat. Barry, what's happening?
Yeah, and I had to call in, Chris. I really have two things I want to say. Well, first of all, I think we're about 4 or 5 months away. It's really cold, but you're going to be dipping your toes in the water again, right, with me, buddy?
Yes, sir.
All right. So the two things I wanted to say is, number one, a lot of your callers are calling in and they're talking and expressing the fact that they feel safer. And as a Democrat that did vote for Donald Trump, Chris, I do feel safer.
It's an amazing, but it's a palpable feeling out there, right? It really is.
You can. It's a tangible feeling.
Yes.
Take it from a guy that sells intangible things like retirement and insurance. It's the truth. It's a tangible feeling, and I get to feel it at Thanksgiving. I get to feel it with my friends and relatives. So the second thing, because I am a Democrat, and we're dealing with all of these lies, if you would, if you could keep bringing people on like Chris Markey and my Democratic friends, it's therapeutic for me, if you could, because Chris, we're in a difficult time. We don't know who our leaders are. We don't know who to look to. But I look to guys like that, and if you could keep bringing them on, it just goes, and you know where I hang out. Some of the Kennedys are down at the club there. And I asked the question. I said, if your great uncles, if Ted and your great uncles were alive, would they be Republicans? And they said they would have never let the Democratic Party go so far left.
Right.
And I think that's what happened.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, we had on the former mayor of Fall River yesterday, and he said,
Will
"Look, the party, Will Flanagan, the party has left him. It went too far to the left. It's amazing." But I agree with you. Look, the only Kennedy active in politics today is now joining a Republican administration.
It's amazing. Yeah. So keep doing what you're doing, kid. It helps me a lot.
All right, Barry, I appreciate it. Thank you, my friend, great friend of mine, Barry Silver, everybody, right? Folks, all the maniacs got all their shopping done already, right? But if you're like a normal person, you're just getting into the holiday season, right? Just put your Christmas tree up. It's time to get out there and shopping. Best place to go, Carter's Clothing and Footwear. 2 locations, one in downtown New Bedford on William Street and one in Fall River on Plymouth Ave. Both locations have free parking, makes your life a lot easier. Get in, get out, right? Get the shopping done. You're a normal person. You're busy. Maybe buy something for yourself. Both locations are open 7 days a week, extended hours during the holidays. Both locations have consistently friendly, helpful customer service on staff to help you with your needs, and will help you get a gift certificate, right? If they don't have it, you don't need it, as Scott Lang says. But if you just want to get a gift card and get out quick, that's not a bad opportunity, not a bad option, right? And you can trust Carter's Clothing and Footwear. They've been around for 77 years, owned and operated by the great American family, the Carters. I see Kevin when I go into Carter's. He's often at the New Bedford location, but family members are at the Fall River location as well. So you can buy just a gift card for a family member. Get in, get out, get a gift card. But if you're looking for something else, they have all the great brands at prices that can't be beat. Carter's Clothing and Footwear. It's where I shop. It's where you should shop. A brand you can trust, carrying great American brands that you trust. Stick around. We'll be right back. I'm Chris McCarthy, and you are the audience. You can reach me at 508-996-0500. Here's a name. Sam Bankman-Fried. Now, many of you are just remembering that guy, right? Fat, disheveled kid, super liberal, largest donor to Democrats, largest individual donor to President Biden's campaign. Sam Bankman-Fried. He's been indicted on federal fraud charges. He was involved with crypto. Not crypto as much as he set up an exchange for crypto. Don't ask me to explain it. It's not something I'm really interested in. I'm interested from afar, but it's nothing I know too much about, cryptocurrency. I am interested in it. I know that other people here on the station are more interested in it than I am and pay more attention to it. But the Sam Bankman-Fried was the largest donor to the progressive left in Joe Biden. And he's in federal prison right now. I bet you he's going to get a pardon. I bet his parents get pardoned too, right? Joe Biden is going to pardon Sam Bankman-Fried. If he doesn't, I'll be shocked. How do you let your largest donor go to federal prison? Not when you clearly don't care about your reputation, right? We'll take a break. We'll be right back. It's a great group, Van Halen, right? So we are, in the next hour, we'll be joined by Amy DeCibio for a few minutes. Amy, of course, is with Act for Wales, and been a great addition to the program, keeping us up to date on what's going on with that, and with the offshore wind, and with the people on Nantucket. Because if the people on Nantucket, as I understand it, if they really get going here in a different direction, offshore wind could have some problems. Now, I've told you from the beginning, I'm a skeptic of offshore wind. I do recognize the temporary benefits to New Bedford that could be permanent because other primarily federal and state taxpayers, that includes most of us, are going to make major port improvements, which can be used for anything. They don't have to be just offshore wind. That's why I hope that President Trump will think about making New Bedford the capital of deportation. We've got a port out here, right, that could certainly use the influx of capital to be transformed to a major export port, right, of human beings. Foreign individuals that have broken the law or come into the country illegally who have to leave. Why not queue them up in New Bedford, load them onto boats, and send them back to wherever they got to go? That could be a major opportunity for the New Bedford port. But anyway, we're going to have Amy DeCibio give us an update on offshore wind from her perspective, what she thinks is happening over there in Nantucket, what has been happening politically. So Amy DeCibio from Act for Wales. If you've never checked out Act for Wales, you ought to check it out. actforwales.org. actforwales.org.